Welcome into the DFS Den. It's Dave Eddy here, aka Corporal Eddie on Twitter. Back with you here for week 14. Gotta be honest with you, last 3 weeks, lost money, guys. Haven't had a profitable week here in the last 3. 14, however, is my lucky number. So I am most definitely expecting a good week here. I am changing things up a little bit with how I'm doing this show. What I'm gonna do is I find myself getting too clogged down with like my show notes and all these stats and everything that I throw at you, which I'm sure a lot of you like, but I want to give you a little bit more just real, honest feedback as I go through my player pool and go through some guys that are not in my player pool and why and my thoughts there. Because I just think that it's going to come off more just like a friendly conversation between just the two of us, and you do it, whatever you want with the information I give you. Also, fun little fact, I recorded this show about half hour ago. And after I got done, I realized that somehow my mic got muted on its own. So I am re-recording this show a second time. So I should know what I'm talking about. We shall see. So let's get into these quarterbacks, okay? As always, I like to start, at the top as far as salary is concerned and work my way down. That way it's a little bit easier to follow along and whatnot. So Josh Allen going up against the Jets. He's at home. Not a big fan here. He's not going to be in my player pool just because, it is a little bit of the matchup. But, Josh Allen in 2 of the last 3 weeks hasn't even scored 20 points. And you're going to need at least 25 from him here to even begin to pay off. Last time he played the Jets, let's see, it was a 2017 loss. He put up 26.8 points. 200 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns. He did run 2 in with 86 yards on the ground, but I think I just like other options better. I am going to go elsewhere here. Jalen Hurts, $8,100 in New York, going up against the Giants. Let's see here. Points against quarterbacks. Giants aren't too bad. I mean, they're kind of middle of the pack, so it's not like this is some, crazy awesome matchup that they get here, but I do love the fact that you can stack with A.J. Brown, you can stack with Devontae Adams, and you've got a guy who very easily can just kill it on the ground. He hasn't been running as much as you would like necessarily from a DFS perspective, but he does have a touchdown 3 of the last 4 games. So that's nice. And he's been putting up crazy value. So basically you need 25 points from him, just like you do Josh Allen. I think it's a much safer bet that you get it here from him. The only thing that concerns me, the main thing that concerns me here is that, Philadelphia, when they like to run the ball. And so if they decide to run the ball against this Giants defense, then, a Hurts stack could be hard to pay off. Patrick Mahomes, just a tough matchup here, in Denver. And that's not the main reason here. The main reason, oddly enough, is the Denver offense. So if the Denver offense isn't going to score points, then there is no pushing the Kansas City offense. So there's really no need to, pass the ball at a high volume. They get out to a little bit of a lead. They maintain it. They run the ball, kind of kill the clock a little bit. In the past, I've been talking about how I'm not a big fan of how Kelsey's the only guy you can rely on. All the rest of the guys, it's a crapshoot from week to week. I do like where the ownership falls here. You're looking probably somewhere around maybe 6% in tournaments. So, I can never argue against a 6% Patrick Mahomes. He's just not going to be a guy that I'm going to play. Joe Burrow, absolutely love him this week. Comes in $7,000, going up against the Browns. Let's see, Browns, again, about middle of the pack here with points against quarterbacks. I mean, Joe Mixon will be back this week. I don't think it's official, but, he's going to be back this week. He practiced fully on Wednesday. Probably the main thing that I like about Burrow here is just the fact that the targets are so consolidated. With Hayden Hurst out, that the ball is going to Jamar Chase. It's going to T. Higgins. And, it'll get sprinkled around elsewhere, but that's where you're going to make your money. I'm all for, a Burrow double stack this week. Because if Burrow ends up being a guy who pays off, you're going to have one of Chase or Higgins. And I could definitely see where you get both. The problem here, similar to, the Broncos situation, Deshaun Watson was absolute ass last week. and all of their points came from, defense and special teams. So, will the Browns push them to where, they have to score? I don't know. But if they do, Burrow's a great matchup here. And they're a team that just passes greatly over, their expectations. So, I could see them passing even with a lead. Maybe protecting Mixon a little bit, even though P. Ryan has been just phenomenal, filling in for him. I do want to talk about Dak Prescott. He's not going to be in my player pool, I don't think. But, in this matchup, everyone's going to be drawn to the running game. Everyone's going to want to play, Pollard. Everyone's going to want to play Zeke because the Texans are historically bad against the run. And, it's also a game where, it's about a 17-point spread. So, the theory everyone's going to have is Cowboys get out to a nice big lead and then they just pound the rock and that's it. And, maybe their starters play 3 quarters because, they're up by 30 points heading into the fourth. Even if that happens, I think that's a bad way of thinking because, people go, well, I'd rather have, 4 quarters of, Kirk Cousins, which that's a terrible example this week, but I'd rather have, 4 quarters of Tom Brady than have, 3 quarters of Dak Prescott. Well, maybe, but in those 3 quarters, I think that, the Cowboys and Dak are going to put up more points than Tom Brady does in 4. So I've never been a big fan of that fade the blowout kind of scenario because if they are pulling their, starters in the 4th quarter, then that means that they've built up a big lead, which means they've scored a lot of points. So whether you get yours in 3 quarters or 4 quarters, I really don't care as long as you get them. Geno Smith, he's kind of similar in a way to why I like Joe Burrow this week. The targets are going to be very consolidated. You know that they're going to Metcalf. You know that they're going to Lockett. Kenneth Walker probably not playing this week. I don't know if it's been officially ruled yet. Let me take a quick look. Kenneth Walker did not practice on Wednesday. So we'll see. It doesn't look like he's going to play. Not a big fan of either Travis Homer, DJ Dallas, Tony Jones Jr., whoever you want to throw back there. Not really a big fan there. That's going to definitely lean me towards their passing game. And again, it's because their targets are so consolidated. I don't know how much they're going to try to run unless, they just have a huge lead, which is possible. So I do love me some Geno. If I double stack it, yes, you could go Lockett Metcalf. Obviously, I would never tell you not to do that. I kind of think that I would prefer to stack it with one of those 2 guys and Noah Fant. Not that I'm a Noah Fant guy, but the way I look at it is the tight end position, absolute fucking wasteland. You never know what you're going to get from week to week. Sometimes even with guys like Mark Andrews. Kelsey's pretty safe, but after that, you just don't know what you're going to get. So I think correlating your tight end with something else within that lineup makes a ton of sense. And I love doing it with the quarterback, gives you a double stack, fills that position. So I do like that is a way to go about things. Minnesota-Detroit game. That's going to be extraordinarily popular. Let's take a look at ownership here. Top 2 quarterbacks as far as projected ownership right now, Goff and Cousins. So, makes sense to me. Here I am not a big fan of, an MME stacking multiple quarterbacks. I kind of think that you need to pick one or the other and not, build around both. So for that reason, I would be on the Jared Goff side of things here. At home, Goff is just an entirely different beast. I could easily see 300 yards, multiple touchdowns here. Monter St. Brown, obvious stacking partner. Justin Jefferson, obvious run back. Just know that's going to be extremely popular. So if you go that route, I get it. But you're going to have to get different elsewhere. I kind of like the idea of if you want to be different elsewhere, I like, throwing DJ Shark into that mix as far as, a wide receiver to stack with there. So, he could very easily have an explosive game. He's their deep threat, so really only takes one, to really help him pay off. All right, let's hop into running backs here. Let's take a look. Okay, we start at the top. Christian McCaffrey going up against the Bucs. I love it. Interesting matchup here though because it is going to be tough. Let's see exactly how tough it is. Let's look at points against running backs this year. And Tampa Bay's 3rd best. So not a good matchup on paper, and I hope that scares people off. 8,500 is a steep price to pay, but McCaffrey's not a running back. McCaffrey's a fucking weapon, so it doesn't really bother me too much. That the Bucs are good against the run because McCaffrey can kill you catching the ball too. So big ol' whatever there. Saquon Barkley. Let's see what's going on with him. Limited in today's practice. Whatever. More than anything, I think it's this Philadelphia defense. When Jordan Davis is on the field, you saw what they did to Derrick Henry last week. And again, Barkley's more of a weapon than a running back, but he's more of a running back than Saquon, or I'm sorry, than CMC is. So I don't know what I'm going to do with him this week. Probably not interested, but we'll see. Derrick Henry, 7,900 going up against Jacksonville. Let's take a look at this matchup on paper here. Middle of the pack defense here as far as points against running backs. So I think Henry's in a really good spot here. Without Treylon Burks, I can definitely see him leaning towards the run. That's most certainly what I would do. And we know Derrick Henry can absolutely break a slate. He hasn't been very good the last few weeks here. 5.8 points, 14.7 points. 2 weeks prior to that, 8.7. So 3 of the last 4 weeks under 15 points. He's looking to be pretty damn chalky. Might be the highest owned running back on the slate, but he's a guy that you can definitely go after. Nick Chubb going up here against the Bengals. Last week I thought he was going to get a ton of carries. He was one of my slate breakers. I thought he was going to absolutely kill it. 17 carries for 80 yards, and that's it. So that's only good for 8 points. Real life, not a bad game. DFS, not a good game at all. Don't mind the idea of oh my Lord. I do not mind the idea here of him being the run back for Burrow stacks. He's definitely the safest option. I don't know if that's great for GPPs, but he's definitely the safest option. And let's see, matchup wise, middle of the pack here for the Bengals rushing defense to running backs here for points on the slate. So, whatever. Joe Mixon, other side of the field. I think this is a great play. Second most points given up to running backs are the Browns. Assuming Mixon's healthy and fully in the mix. Going to be chalky, maybe right there with Derrick Henry, probably the 2 chalkiest running backs on the slate. But the upside is obviously ridiculous. 58.1 points in week 9. That's all you need to know there. Tony Pollard, I think, is going to be very interesting. I kind of talked about Dak, and why I like the idea of playing Cowboys. Not going to be, an under the radar choice. Probably a top 5 owned running back this week. The matchup against Houston is absolutely ridiculous. So assuming that they do get a huge lead, you do expect them to run the ball. I expect that, passing the ball at a level more than you expect is in play too. But the more likely scenario is the running, which is, again, why I like the Dak play a little bit, is it's still a good play while being a little counterintuitive, Miles Sanders going up against the Giants there in New York. Pretty decent matchup here. Looks like Giants are going to have the 6th most points to running backs, and this is a team that, if they want to, can just absolutely pound the rock. And so, you could see another one of these 21 carries for 143 yards like he did against Green Bay. I don't know if he'll score 2 touchdowns, but he has scored a lot more touchdowns than you think this year. So definitely somebody that's very much in play for me. Let's see. Deontay Foreman, if he plays, I do like him here against Seattle on the road. Did not practice on Wednesday, was limited on Thursday, but it is an upgrade. So, we shall see what happens if he plays. If he plays, I like him. I would say pretty good likelihood that he plays this week. Let's take a look at the matchup real quick against Seattle. Pretty good. 4th most points to running back. So, I can see it. I can see it working for sure. All right, let's see. Let's move down here. That looks like that's it. That's my list of running backs for this week. So let's go ahead and move on. Talking wide receivers. Top of the list, Justin Jefferson, 9K against the Lions. going to be ridiculously popular. Him and St. Brown going to be the top 2 highest owned receivers this week. It's probably not going to be close. So again, stacking them does not get you unique. Extraordinarily good plays, and I do not fault a soul for playing them together because you bet your ass I'm going to. But you're going to have to get different elsewhere. So just know that. Stephon Diggs, probably out on him because I'm not playing Allen. Against the Jets earlier this year, 5 catches for 93 yards on 10 targets. Good for 14 points. You need 25 out of them to make value. So, whatever. AJ Brown, 8K. I love him. Had a huge game last week, revenge game against the Titans. 8 catches, 119 yards, 2 tutties. Not a whole lot to dislike here. If you're playing Hurts, it's either going to be him or it's going to be Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith is fantastic as well. 5 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown last week. AJ Brown's got the higher ceiling, but let's see, ownership-wise, AJ Brown, under 10%. Devontae Smith right at 10. So you can actually get a higher ceiling with probably a little bit lower ownership with AJ Brown. So that's the route I would take. Let's talk Bengals wide receivers here. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, $900 difference between the two. $7,900 for Chase, $7,000 for T. Higgins. Let's take a look here. Jamar Chase in his first game back, 7 catches on 8 targets for 97 yards. I mean, that doesn't get it done, but it's nice to see him come back in that way. So we need to get, again, about 25 points out of him, and I can see that this week for sure. T. Higgins has been fantastic. He was amazing while Jamar Chase was out. When these two guys are in, together, I almost always lean Higgins because obviously he's cheaper and he's usually a little bit less owned. When I look at it this week, it's the same thing. He's $900 cheaper, like I said. You're looking at 10% ownership versus about 15% ownership. I mean, again, playing them together is totally fine. But if I had to pick one, if I just had to pick one, I would still pick T here. Monter St. Brown, not sure what to say about this guy. He's going to get you 10 targets. He's going to get you 7 catches. He's going to get you 70 yards probably. So, a floor of 14 points, I would say. Now, granted, you're going to need more than that out of him. But in this matchup, I absolutely love it. Last time you played Minnesota, 6 catches for 70 yards. So basically exactly what I just said. He's been on fire lately, though. 3 touchdowns the last 2 games, over 100 yards, 11 catches, 9 catches. He's a hell of a play. CD Lamb goes along with my Dak Prescott. I like him better in this matchup than I think most will. Do what you want with that information. He's basically put up 3x each of his last 2 games. So definitely a solid play there. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, I talked about that. If you're playing Geno, perfect to stack with. You could one-off either one of them. DK's got the higher ceiling. Metcalf's probably a little bit safer, even though, Lockett's ceiling is still pretty good there as well. But, do what you want there. Again, like the double stacks with Fant in there. Chris Godwin, I like him more than most. I think a lot of people are going to be off on him because the Tampa Bay offense has not been so great. But, Godwin is, a good bet. Good bet. Let's see. When's the last time he had less than 6 catches? Week 1. So since he's been back, basically healthy, he has had at least 6 catches. He gets a double-digit targets. So I don't know that he's a game breaker for you. He's not going to win you the slate probably. But, those are the kind of things that, we look at in cash and say, hey, I love the floor there, Amari Cooper, interesting play. Again, could be a nice run back for you against, the Bengals. Him or DPJ, probably you could go Cooper as well. Let's take a look at Njoku real quick. Njoku, where are you? Njoku, limited practice on Wednesday. Limited practice on Thursday as well. He says he expects to play, so we'll see. I don't know that I can trust him, though. Not with Deshaun Watson back there with how they looked last week. Let's see who else we want to talk about. Garrett Wilson, no problem playing him there against Buffalo. I think that defense sounds better on paper than they really are. Let's see here. Last time they played, he had 8 catches for 92 yards on 8 targets. Now, granted, he's $1,000 more expensive than he was then, but even those 18 points would be 3x, so would get you at least what you would need to play him. So I do like the play there. DJ Moore, $5,500 going against Seattle. Let's see how Seattle has been doing against wide receivers as far as points are concerned. Let's see. Carolina, not too good. 5th lowest points. So I do like, though, the fact that Darnold's back for Moore's value. I think he gives them the best chance. He had a pretty nice game last week. Only 4 catches, but 103 yards and a tutty. So, you do like to see that at least. Let's see, my battery's getting low here. We'll see if I can make this without having to run to get my charger. Darius Slayton, I do like him here as well. Very tough matchup, so ownership is going to be sub 5%. But, I mean, he's put up double-digit points in, looks like 5 of the last 6. The one he didn't was 9.3 points. 15 gets you value. He's kind of the only receiver that you can even quote-unquote trust. So I don't mind it here in a game where they probably are going to have to throw the ball. And we'll leave it there for now. Let's get into some tight ends here. Let's see, boy. We start at the top. Travis Kelce, just straight up, always in play. He's always expensive. He's always a guy that if you're playing Mahomes, I just put him in there. So no reason to talk about Travis Kelce. You know what to do with him. Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews actually was great with Huntley last year. Was putting up elite production. Now, granted, that was last year. And Andrews hasn't done shit in a while. He's barely put up double-digit points twice in the last 5 games. I probably just am off on him. Ownership is going to be low, sub 5%. So if you want to play him, it will get you a little bit different, with an elite player. So, I mean, I like the idea. it scares me. TJ Hawkinson, going to be a very popular revenge game against the Lions. They've been targeting this dude like crazy. He's going to be good for 6 targets. Now, what that gets you, I don't know. Could be like last week, 4 catches for 33 yards. He hasn't had a massive game here in Minnesota, even though the usage has been great. Going to be tough to pay off that price tag, I think. So I do like him as, leverage off of Justin Jefferson, but we'll see exactly how much of him I get. Pat Freiermuth against the Ravens. Pat Freiermuth has been fantastic. Let's see if I can get his player card to pull up here. If I can't, then we will just move forward. There we go. Nothing spectacular here. We've seen decent volume. For 4,500, it's not terrible. I think I just prefer to punt at tight end because it's so volatile. I like to just punt that sucker away. Greg Dulcich is going to be the most popular tight end by far. Maybe not by far, but he's going to be the most popular tight end. For me, he's going to be the tight end I play the most. He has a good ceiling. He only needs 10 points basically to pay off. And, on that offense, he's kind of the one bright spot. So if he does what he did last week, 6 for 85, I would absolutely love that. That gets us, well over 4x. I will take that all day long. Talk about Noah Fant. I kind of think I like him more as just a secondary stacking piece on Geno Smith stacks, but as a one-off, I think you could do worse. And then, hey, if you want to get crazy, you can throw in a little bit of Austin Hooper. Let's see, Jacksonville, middle of the pack against tight ends. But, without Treylon Burks, I kind of expect NWI to be the guy who gets the work there. Gets the extra value, but you could definitely talk me into, Austin Hooper. I've always liked him. And there was a point in time where he was a good play, and he hasn't been terrible lately for his price. So might even be a guy that I just look to get a little bit crazy with in cash as well. You just never know when it comes to these tight ends. So just about anything is in play. And then lastly, we'll talk about defenses here. God, I fucking hate that we play defense. It is what it is. It's like I've always said here, extraordinarily volatile. I don't usually put an an astronomical amount of thought into this because it does become so random. In a perfect world, basically, I'm looking to, correlate it with a running back I have. I'd like it to be under 3K on DraftKings, and I'd like them to be owned under 5%. If I go ahead and just simply look at defenses that are under 3,000 and under 5% ownership as of right now, these are the list, and this is what I would consider right now in GPPs. Got the Texans. That's going to be a hard one to play, but it gets you different and saves you a ton of money. So in GPPs, crazy enough, I don't hate it. Broncos against the Chiefs, again, sounds crazy, but with these defenses, it may work out. Let's see here. We've got the Giants against the Eagles. Again, scary as hell, but what the hell? Jets against the Bills. That's actually kind of interesting. Let's see how the Jets did last time points-wise against the Bills. They put up 10. They had 5 sacks, 2 interceptions. So, very, very doable there. Very doable. The Browns against the Bengals. Okay, interesting. Jags against the Titans. I can definitely see how that makes sense. And then we got the Lions and Vikings both coming in at extraordinarily low ownership. And, that's going to be a popular game. So playing those defenses honestly does make sense in GPPs. Real quick here before I run out of batteries, I'm at a couple minutes of battery power left. If I'm looking at cash, basically it's either paying way up to play the Cowboys and then just smash spot against the Texans. Don't really like paying up for defense, especially in cash, but this may be an instance where it's fine. And then, Steelers against Baltimore, you're getting a backup quarterback with a team that can get lots of sacks. I don't mind that. And then I could even see the Panthers against Seattle. I could see that making sense as well. So hopefully you enjoyed this here. Went ahead, did it, like I said, a little bit differently for you. I think it turned out great. I hope you do as well. If you haven't done so yet, pop on over here, subscribe to the channel. I need you to turn on the notifications. Helps you get an alert every single time a new video comes out. You can get everything fresh, hot off the presses. I wish you the best of luck in week 14. We will see you next time.